And so I'll just do a wee bit of the story so far. This is something that the community board, well, let's start with the beginning. Lyttelton is a community that has a very high level of interest in design and appearance matters, and that was demonstrated through the master plan and also controversy surrounding the Stanaway building, which you may remember, a controversy surrounding the London Street upgrade, which was a council project. And it's a community that really repeatedly asks for partnership with council in decision making. And so the board had responded to this after the earthquakes in particular with the proposal for a design and advisory committee along the same model as the Akaroa one, which has existed and been quite successful. However, we were not able to get that one off the ground, and so we've, in collaboration with the staff, we've come up with a kind of a hybrid model, which is halfway between a community-based advisory panel and a professional advisory panel with a bit of benefits of both. Yes. And I think it might work really well in Lyttelton. We're looking at an 18-month trial. There's not very high costs involved because we're going to invite expressions of interest on the basis that the experts involved will provide the advice pro bono, participate pro bono, and I'm optimistic that there will be enough qualified design professionals who can make up a pool to participate. I mean, just really, any questions?
Well, is that supported by staff, the approach?
Yes, we've worked with the chairperson to develop this advice that you see in the report today. We think a trial would be the best way of approaching this. It gives an opportunity to consider how this can work and also learn from it prior to the LTP in terms of the effectiveness and the costs. And also there's been some limitations with the Akaroa model that's been recognised, and that's something we could also learn from and think about that as we look at the Akaroa model going forward.
How long's the trial for?
18 months.
18 months, right. Yanni.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the work you've done on this. How will you measure the success or otherwise of the trial? What would you see as the successful outcome?
I think there's
How
a
do
number.
you measure the success of the one in town?
Yeah, we've done an evaluation of the urban design panel a year ago, so we have some criteria that we could apply to looking at this model as well, which I think would be a good way of looking at that consistently. Also, it's also talking to developers and actually finding out how they found the recommendations of the panel, and then seeing what changes might have actually occurred as a result of that advice that was provided. So did they then make changes before they applied for the resource consent? Also, I think talking to the panel members themselves, we should actually be able to find how they found the process. Were they able to reach consensus given the mix of skills that they're going to have on the panel? Those sorts of factors.
And we'll be keeping our ear close to the ground to find out to try and work out whether the community is reasonably happy with the proposal. It was strongly supported through the master plan process, local involvement in urban design decisions. And could someone get that horse out of the chamber, please?
No, that's a big fine, actually. I think he gets an extra fine on top of the normal fine for anyone that has
an animal sound. Yeah.
And besides which, it's very risky in the chamber because you'd say that the nays have it. Anyway, so
nays have it.
Ellie and then Jimmy.
I just had a question around what this would mean for other parts of Christchurch as well, because I know that there are some areas that feel that their heritage and special amenity is being lost, and do you think that, and I haven't got a problem with that, but why wouldn't, for example, Sydenham or parts of Riccarton not want a similar input?
Akaroa and Lyttelton are different from those areas in town because they have this special character area overlay in the district plan. So that is the reason why it works well in this context. Personally, if this works well, I can see that there's potential for perhaps taking it further if it works well and other communities are interested.
And rules-wise, what would a panel like this actually be able to do to, say, avoid, if that's what was wanted, the building of, for example, the Stanaway House?
Well, one of the difficulties that the community has identified is that the district plan rules and the design guidelines are constraining the kind of creativity that some property owners want to do. And you could have a situation where a proposal comes to the Lyttelton Design Review Panel, which is not entirely consistent with the district plan rules and the guidelines, but if it is sufficient, if it meets the basic criteria and it is still a well-designed building, then the support from the panel could make it possible for something that is a wee bit out of the ordinary to progress through to consent.
So the Lyttelton panel would overrule what is currently...
No panel has any decision-making
none.
capacity. They're only an advisory capacity.
But I mean overrule in an advisory capacity,
No.
so their advice would carry more weight than...
Well, it carries weight, but it's not.
Okay,
it's
that's
not
fine.
A
I'm just
decision
wondering.
maker.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Would be classed as an expert type witness.
Jimmy.
Okay, one question. Regarding to the Lyttelton design review panelists, the three of them, particular for the professional or architect, whether those the three is the part of the pool of 23 professional in the citywide urban design panelist.
The advantage that we're looking for is that people on the panel live or work in Lyttelton and are really familiar with the way the community works and the history of the place and can put that kind of local knowledge into the decision-making process. At the moment, if you have panelists from the city urban design panel, you may not have anybody who's got the local knowledge.
So that's additional, another one. But it's qualified. It's also qualified.
Yes.
The process proposed is to run an expression of interest. So any professionals that have the areas of expertise that are called for could apply and be considered for that. So that will bring forward people that have that Lyttelton knowledge and experience.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm assuming that Andrew would like to move this,
I would love to move this.
and somebody would like to second it.
I'll
Yanni?
second it.
And any discussion? I'll put that motion. Oh,
I'd like to speak to it briefly if I
Yep,
can.
sure.
I'm hugely supportive of this. I mean, it's a piece of work that's been underway for some time. Noting the level of staff support and also noting the amount of work that Paula has put into this personally and the support of the community board as this has gone through the various stages as well. So this is another opportunity for local people to be involved in local decision making about the area that they live in and work in. I've got no doubt that there's significant capability within the Lyttelton community to be able to produce the level of expertise that's required for this to work. Certainly, you know, talking about top of the mind issues like the Stanaway building, the new Lyttelton Primary School, urban design is very much top of the mind of a number of people in Lyttelton and has been quite a big issue for Lyttelton, not least because of the opportunities presented by the earthquake damage in the Lyttelton town centre and the opportunities for renewal and regeneration that present themselves. We need to get that right, and the more local expertise and interest that can be brought to bear on getting that right, the better, and this proposal certainly allows for that. So once again, another locally driven issue with good local outcomes that I'm supporting, and I urge others to do the same.
I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. I assume you'd like to